Hey there, welcome to this video. This one is going to be about playing on the low E string. I'm making this video in particular because several people have asked questions on some of my other videos about how to get a really good sound on the E string when you're holding the bass. There's a few tricks and tips I can give on that, and again, this is in response to comments people have left me on some of my other videos. So if there's anything you're wondering about, something you're having trouble with that you'd like me to address, please leave me a comment on this video or one of my others, and yeah, I can maybe add something to the list of videos that I'm getting ready to do. So anyway, this one about playing on the E string, particularly the comments are, if you look at my video on how to hold the bass sitting or standing, you'll notice I advocate holding the bass at an angle against the body. That's what works for me. When you watch different bass players, you see different things, but this is really what works for me. But one of the things that happens is when you go to play on your E string, but what do you do about your leg? Particularly for a German bow player, you can see how I really just run straight into my leg, and this is a problem that we have to deal with. On the French bow, it's not quite as bad because you have the overhanded grip, but it still is at least a little bit of a problem. So I'm going to go over a few things to help you play on that E string. I'm going to start with a seated approach to it, and then at the end of the video I'm going to cut over to standing up, because there are a few things that are different. A fair amount of it's the same, but there's a little bit that's different. So if you're a standing player, then hang on till the end and I'll address that specifically. So first thing is, it depends on the kind of music you're playing. For a lot of music, it ends up being a little bit of a non-issue, because a lot of times you hit the E string and it's just a quick little note. You only need about that much bow, and so it doesn't matter. It only becomes a problem really when you have longer notes and you got to be able to get down into the upper part of the bow, and the leg needs to get out of the way. So here's the deal. The first thing I'll do, and there's a couple of different ways I approach it depending on the context of the music. I have the back of the bass sitting up against the inside of my thigh, and I have my leg, I like my leg up on the second rung of the stool with the top of my leg parallel to the floor. Not everyone plays like this. If you watch different players, some people will keep their leg down a little bit lower. Some people will put both legs flat on the floor. You're gonna have to experiment with this, find what works for you. I like my leg to be up high, inside of the thigh against the back of the bass here. One of the things that lets me do is it lets me have some control over the tilt of the instrument. When I drop my leg back here, the instrument becomes more, I guess, straight ahead rather than angled in towards my body. So first thing I might do, if I have to play a long note on the E string, I'll drop this leg, and now I can get all the way out to the tip. Come back when I'm done with the E string, just bring my leg back in, problem solved, and I'm in a good position over here for the rest of my strings. This can cause some problems. Number one, makes the left hand a little bit awkward. You gotta get in here and lean a little bit versus having it up here closer. You don't want it right up against your neck, but having it closer up here is more comfortable. When you drop down here, playing the finger notes, it can get a little bit awkward. But if I'm just gonna be down there for, I've got coming down, and let's say I got a half note on the G, and then I'm right back off the E string again, that's what I'll do. I'll just drop it down real quick, play my note, bring it back up, done. If I have to be on the E string for a long time, that's not such a practical solution, because you're sitting like this for a long time and it does kind of mess up some other aspects of your posture. So what I do, if I'm going to be down on the E string for a long time, and also if I have to be playing really loud, because sometimes like right in here, I can't get the amount of weight into the string that I'd like. So what I'll do is, using my legs, I'll turn the instrument. Here's my preferred, most of the time, playing position, but if I need the E string for a long time, I'll just take my knees, turn the instrument a little bit, just an example. Let's say I had to play something like that. I need a full bow. I need a lot of weight. I'm going to be down there for a while. I get the bass more straight ahead. There are people who prefer to hold it this way all the time. There's quite a lot of great players who hold the bass forward like this, more like a cello. Those folks will tend a lot of times to have their leg a little bit lower on the side to help accommodate this more straightforward position. There's trade-offs with this though. On the one hand, you get easy access to the low strings. You can still reach pretty far, although I think, well, I don't know. It depends on your arms, you know, I mean, the reach is pretty easy here. The thing that I don't like about this, and the reason I don't hold this way myself, is for the bow. Like, while I can reach here, this is as far as I can go with the bow away from the fingerboard comfortably. I've got to really kind of torque myself a little bit to get my bow down near the bridge for the G string, and I find it gets some stress in my shoulder and twists my back a little bit here. So that's my reasoning for preferring to hold the bass here, because with a relaxed arm, yeah, I'm almost right down to the bridge without having to dip my right shoulder. So I mean, I prefer the angle because of that, but some people decide that it's worth the trade-off to hold like this. You get the E string, maybe a little bit easier reach right here, but then you have to compensate over here. So I mean, that's the thing. All of these different ways of holding the instrument have some trade-offs. But so first thing I'll do, drop my knee if I'm going right back. If I'm going to be down there for a while and I don't really use my left hand, it's just my knees. I'll turn the bass around. When I'm done, I'll turn it right back. That takes a little bit of practice, but that's the main thing. One other thing just about getting great sound on the E string, and this will be a standing or a sitting thing, really, really important. Slow, heavy bows a little closer to the fingerboard. And that's going to be standing or sitting, and that's maybe the biggest mistake I see people make when they try to play on their E string. Instead of this, they'll move their bow too fast, and it kind of skates over the string a little bit. Dig in, go slow with the bow. So if I'm just playing quarter notes, I'm only using about that much bow per quarter note. Any more than that, gets a lot of air in the sound, you end up skating over the top of the string. But there's a couple of things about the position that really help deal with the E string. I'm going to go ahead and cut now over to standing, and we'll go over a couple of things that are unique to this standing position. Okay, so here's just a couple of things about standing, because again, I like the instrument, you know, about maybe here's 90 degrees, a little bit more than 90 degrees against my body, but I have the same problem with the E string. Couple of things. If I'm just going to be there for a little while, I'll just step back a little bit, bend from the hip, and just move myself out of the way. That's fine for a couple of quick short notes. Step back in, done. It's a little bit contortionistic, so I only like to do that if I only have a note or two and don't need much time there. The other thing, yeah, again, has to do with turning the instrument, just like when I was sitting. Contacting the inside of the knee with the back of the lower bout, I have some control over the angle of the instrument. So if I have a longer note, I'll push my knee in, so it'll come like this, coming in, push my knee in, turns the bass out. I still want balance. I don't want to ever be holding it up with my left hand. I'm going to lean the bass a little bit in towards the bow. I can access the full length of the bow without having to, you know, bend myself in funny ways to get out of the way, right? So I can turn it a little bit, turn it back. So if I have a longer note, or I'm going to be on the E string for a little bit longer, I turn it versus just moving my body out of the way. If I'm going to be on the E string for a long time, Just like when sitting, I want to get further behind the instrument, so I'll actually come back here. I'll replace this knee with this knee, turn the instrument out, grab hold of it right here. Still, I have control of the instrument with my body. I am not holding it up with my hands. If I'm going to be E and A string for a long time, I come back behind the bass. Now, I can still get over here for a little while and come back, but with practice, it's a pretty easy change to make, getting between those two positions. Not that you want to be going back and forth all the time, but if I got to be over here for a little while, I'll go over. When I'm done, I'll come back. Pretty easy change. Again, heavy and slow no matter what, to get good tone on the E string. Anyway, those are some tips and tricks for getting the E string as far as position goes and tone goes. Hopefully you found that helpful and that it answers some questions that a few people have had. Again, if you found this helpful, please leave me a comment. If you have questions about other techniques that you'd like to see addressed, leave that for me in the comments. Like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.